You also point out how important tourism is to our economy. What
Yes.
steps will you take to increase tourism in Tennessee?
Well, there's several steps that I would take, and one is we have to have a bottle bill in Tennessee. We've got to get the trash picked up. I'm visiting several states and have visited several that have passed bottle bill legislation, and it's a way to create jobs. It adds to the state economy. That's one thing. A second thing is we have to have an unequivocal prohibition of mountaintop removal. There are no mountaintop removal firms that are domiciled in this state. There are 300 jobs, according to what I've read, that are actually directly linked to mountaintop removal firms, and there are 184,000 jobs that are associated with tourism. So, you know, when we think about bringing people to the state, then that's something we need to do. The other thing that I really want to see is that the plans for high-speed rail in this nation largely surround Tennessee but do not include Tennessee. We must have a high-speed rail system in the state that will connect up into the corridors that go to Chicago, east through East Tennessee to Virginia, Washington, D.C., and connect to the high-speed rail system that continues on up into Boston, west, and certainly south. But this is not about making travel convenient to Tennesseans, although it would. It's about strengthening our urban areas and our rural areas. It's an ongoing jobs program, if you will. It has low environmental impact. But what it also does is it brings people to Tennessee. And that is probably one of the best things that we can do for our state, because Tennessee is a tourism state.
Well, how will we pay for that?
Well, there are going to be a number of ways that we pay for it, and I think it's going to be a fairly complex package that we do. I think it'll be some public investment by the state, some private investment. I think we'll have to have some partners on that. And I'd like to think we can probably get some federal support for that as well.
This past legislative session, there were several changes to gun laws, specifically guns in bars and guns in parks. How do you feel about those new laws?
Well, I've heard about that, actually. And my feeling on that is that this really had nothing to do with the Second Amendment. I think it had everything to do with promoting gun sales. And, you know, it's one of those things where it looks like but is really something else. And the unfortunate thing about it is I think it inhibits business from coming to Tennessee that would probably like to come here, but probably feels less safe when we have a conversation like this in the state. I think it gets people off on small issues that have nothing to do with the big issues that we need to be focusing on in Tennessee. And it's something that I think actually probably undermines the very people's interests who seem to have taken the greatest interest in that legislation. And so I think it was an unfortunate conversation to have had.
Well, what other areas of state government will you address in your first few weeks?
Well, I have a plan on my website, and I started writing it about 2 years ago, but it's there in full today. It's 39 pages long, all included. And this addresses a lot of what we can do. And I really believe that in running for governor, people talk a lot about leadership, but they're not willing to take any risk for it. And I believe that you can't lead without being able to state where it is you're going and take some risk for it, because if you're not doing that, then you're not leading. And I think that the next governor who comes into the governor's seat is going to have a very, very full plate. And if you haven't planned for it, then you're not going to be able to deal with it. Time is moving very quickly. The economy moves faster. We're at a point of economic change. What I'm really addressing is that that Tennessee positions itself as a primary renewable energy leader, so it can compete against other states and be able to compete with other countries all over the globe. That we look at our health care and fix that, especially with respect to preventable disease, which is the largest portion of our health care situation. So we better start with the big pieces first, and this is a majority of it. We need to address our education, and it's not just K through 12. It's clearly a higher education proposition, but how we make that all-inclusive and help the people who have lost their jobs, the people who need more training, the people who are in high school as well, have business incubation involved with that. So those are the big things. When you begin to come down a little bit, tourism is part of it, as part of the job creation. Solar is part of the job creation. Tennessee is also known as a transshipment provider. We have firms like FedEx over in Memphis. We have UPS has a big presence here. But Tennessee is so strategically located for the rest of the country that we really need to build that up. And we also need to make it, because of the change in demographics, a retirement center. We have shifted from the baby boom generation really sort of coming through and consuming everything, and that's part of the reason we have gone from an ebullient home building industry to a pretty still kind of impaired housing business. And if we look forward, we can say, well, really the way we're going to revitalize this economy, in addition to everything else I've said, is really making this a place where people can come and settle in the state, because for every person who retires here, that adds $40,000 to the state economy just almost right off the bat. The other things that we can do is we can recognize that in this country we're going to be making a transition in 2012 from incandescent light bulbs to energy efficient light bulbs, and so we might as well get started on that, because when Tennessee converts to energy efficient light bulbs, that will add about, by my estimate, $2 billion a year to the state economy. So, I mean, at this point in time, we need to be doing everything that we can.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, I'm delighted to have been here, and Amy, thank you for having me.
Thank you. If you would like more information on Ward Cammack's campaign for governor, you can log on to his website at wardcammack.com. And if you would like to watch this program again or review other programs in our series covering the 2010 governor's race, we have a link to these programs on our website at volstate.edu/Inside Politics. We hope you will join us next time here on Inside Politics.
For more information about the guests on this show, please visit our website at volstate.edu/Inside Politics.